Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you here to the debut race of the third season of the Dark Horse IndyCar Series here live on the Flat Out Racing Network. I'm Seth Cole alongside of Samuel Dyer. And Sam, obviously, we were able to have the privilege of calling the season finale for Season 2, the Indianapolis 500. A champion was crowned at that point, but now, brand new season, clean slate, and it's here tonight at the Auto Club Speedway.
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be a ridiculously fun season to watch here for season 3 of the Dark Horse IndyCar series. And I'm excited. We got 36 cars here tonight for 100 laps. It's going to be a lot of racing action, especially here at Auto Club, where there's plenty of room to go anywhere from 5 to 6 wide at times.
Now, there's going to be 18 races during the course of this schedule, but a lot of drivers say that a championship can be won or lost based on your performance in the first couple of races. So, for all the drivers in this big field here tonight, is the goal to survive or is the goal to be aggressive to try and get the first win of the season?
I would say the goal, most likely, with how big this field is, finish in the top 10. That is probably the biggest and ultimate goal. Even if you win the first race, it doesn't mean that you are the favorite to win the championship. I mean, we've seen plenty of other IndyCar series where you can win the first race and then just kind of hit a slump from there on out through the rest of the season. But staying consistent is the major key of this season.
Nick DeGroot, of course, was the crowned champion back at the conclusion of Season 2. Subsequently comes into this season with the number 1 on his machine. Champion's advantage there, champion's privilege. He'll be the one everybody's going to be gunning for the championship this season. But does he have to kind of set the tone here tonight to say, hey, I won the championship last season, and if you're going to take the championship away from me this season, you're going to have to wrestle it away from me?
Yeah, I really have to say that Nick DeGroot has to be probably the biggest favorite here. I mean, almost in every IndyCar series that I've seen Nick DeGroot in, he is the favorite to win at almost every race course we are at. So this one machine, he's going to be qualifying up front in third place and obviously a favorite for this race here tonight. And I cannot wait to see how things go. Seth, I got to step away for 1 second. I'll be right back.
All right, so as we take a look here at the starting lineup, Robert Maleska III will be lining up on point alongside of Oscar Gonzalez. You can see only 13 one-thousandths of a second in between those two as it was group qualifying for these drivers. They had 10 minutes in which to lay down a pole lap. As Sam alluded to, the defending champion Nick DeGroot going to roll off from third place alongside of Alexander Desant. As we look through the rest of the field here, the driver that won the last race of the season last season was Craig Forsyth. And if people remember the broadcast we had, it was an incredible 4-wide move that he made on the front straightaway. A caution then came out, ending the race under yellow, but it was an unbelievable pass to an unbelievable finish. Forsyth going to be rolling off from the 12th position as we have, I believe, officially 34 drivers that are going to be in tonight's event. There you see 16th place, A.J. Hobson. He's the defending winner of this event as Auto Club was the season opener back in Season 2 as well.
Yeah, this field is massive as we are getting ready for this.
And of course, we know that these drivers with the Indy cars and this track being 2 miles in length, they're going to be flying around this racetrack. I saw speeds even in the draft of nearly 240 miles per hour. And we know that these drivers not only have to be talented to drive these race cars, but they have to have cat-like reflexes because if something happens ahead, around, or behind them, they have to be ready to avoid that situation.
Yeah, it's avoiding as well as just trying to make the biggest moves you possibly can. And with the momentum you're going to be carrying with those extreme speeds you were talking about there, Seth, they're going to be making a lot of really quick passes as quick as possible. But the green flag is out here for the first race of the season here at Auto Club.
Robert Maleska Jr. for the first time this season will lead the field into turn 1. Gets a pretty good advantage right at the moment, but that's not normally a good thing because these Indy cars are so draft reliant. DeGroot into second. We'll see if he can close up the gap on the back straightaway.
And here he comes with that momentum and the toe. That one machine is coming, most likely setting up through 3 and 4. The one machine, all the momentum to the inside.
Field got really spread out there at the start of this race, which may not normally be a bad thing. It will all congest back up momentarily as DeGroot will lead the first lap of the new season. Here you've got a group from third place on back with Oscar Gonzalez, Charles T., David Leclerc, and Dylan Makowski, as well as, I believe it's Alexander Van de Sant back there as well. These drivers trying to work together to get up there to that top two.
We talked about how you want to be up front and have a consistent day. Eric Peterson starting off not the way you want. Issues on the first lap into the pits.
It's an unscheduled stop there for Eric Peterson as he pulls into the attention of his crew. Now, the good news is it's early on in this race, a 100 lappers, so there is every possibility if he's able to at least get out there with only losing one lap, he'll probably gain that back before the conclusion of this race. But right now, we got kind of a battle up here at the front, then a four-way battle for third place, and DeGroot and Robert Maleska Jr. not really doing themselves much favors as they continue to go side by side. That's hurting their ability to keep ahead of third place.
Yeah, they had a gap that was over about 7/10. It's now dwindled down to 0.6 seconds, and the more that they duke it back and forth, the more they're going to lose time. But if they can start slingshotting past each other on the straightaways, it's actually going to help them carry that momentum as Peterson able to get back on track, but 2 laps down.
Eric Peterson going to be hoping that he sees a couple of yellow flags take place during this race. And boy, they are really getting racy back here. That was Charles Teed making a move down to the inside of Alexander Desant. Oscar Gonzalez right there as well. And that's the beauty of Auto Club as well. You can see with the lines up there that there's about 5 grooves available to these drivers into the corners. Now, I think we're really going to see possibly only 3 of those grooves utilized in this race, but unlike what we saw in the season finale at Indianapolis, Nick DeGroot had a patented strategy of just hold the bottom. If you were going to pass him, you'd have to do it on the outside line. But here at Auto Club, that strategy may not work because that outside line, I think, is viable.
Yeah, the outside line is viable, but you need that momentum through the straightaways to really carry that momentum through. If you're not able to use that toe of the draft, you're really going to be in a very tough situation to make any pass. But Alexander Van de Sant, he has finally caught up to our front 2 as they are slowly catching up. 3rd on 6, they're catching up to 1 and 2.
Just had to get the toe off of Maleska, and now he brings David Leclerc along with him. And I think Leclerc may have possibly brushed the wall there in turn 2. That's one issue as well. Carrying so much speed, you got to make sure that you're going to be able to make it off the corner. As that right front continues to heat up, it's going to make it a little bit more difficult for that car to turn on corner exit. Again, way up the track and almost into the wall off of 4.
Yeah, he's got to be careful right now as it's going to be Oscar Gonzalez trying to get past that 5 machine, that 50 machine, and will do so. But the 5 of Teed, due to the fact of Leclerc bouncing off the wall, it kind of jacked everyone up and losing momentum. Now it's 4th place. It's lingering back as Alexander Van de Sant, he's caught up to our front 2, and looks like he might be in fuel-saving mode, just staying behind and waiting for his time to strike.
Mentioned the fact that A.J. Hobson is the defending winner of this race. He led 40 of the 100 laps 1 season ago. Right now, that 63 mired all the way back in the 23rd position.
Do you want to look at the driver that's in 11th place? It's going to be Eric Scheifs as that 572 machine has worked his way up to 11th place, started back in 20th. So a great positioning move for the 72 and for the 22 ahead of him.
Well, you'd have to be blind not to see that car out there on the track. The beautiful fluorescent pink, blue, and green on that machine as now he's trying to reel in Pablo Diaz-Francis in the 22. Bud C. Steele right there in the 9th position just up ahead as well. And we've got an exchange for 2nd place. Alexander Van de Sant not only took 2nd place away from Maleska, he's now going to go to the front ahead of DeGroot.
Just showing the strength of the inside. If you can carry that momentum into 1 and 2, Van de Sant able to make the pass cleanly on both those drivers, but here comes Nick DeGroot battling right back in that 1 machine.
Different venue, but I'm getting flashbacks to last year's finale because it was DeGroot and Desant that kept trading the top position back and forth in the second half of the Indy 500. Looks like they're going right back to it here in Season 3.
Yeah, and these drivers, they got to be working together the best that they can. It's the driver that's in 3rd place. If you can just stay back, try to save fuel, fuel is going to be something for these drivers to worry about. The fuel window for these drivers is around 35 to about 37 laps. So if we stay on a green flag run, these drivers, they could stretch it a little bit further than 37 laps, but that looks like be the furthest they can go.
Great battling up here at the front, but we've got a hornet's nest from about the 5th position on back. Take a look at this, almost 3 wide off the corner is Eric Schaus, Francis, Mauskowitz, Leclerc, Wagner, Steele, even more in Santos. That's about 4th back to 14th you could throw a blanket over this second group.
Yeah, and they're all just going to be scattering and trying to deke it in and out, as that's going to be, believe Wagner, just ducking it low in that in the blue machine.
Got a
car
caution.
wreck.
And there's cars littered on the back straightaway. Look out. Jason Butler in the 101, and I believe that is Jeffrey Duncan and Todd Schneider as well.
Looked like it all started up with Butler in the 101, and just cars piling in and out and flipping.
Apologies, it's actually the 77 of Benjamin Combs who's involved in that, and the 51 of Max Davies in the Lowe's machine was the other driver involved, as he had to teleport to pit road. And we know here, Sam, with the speeds they are carrying and the hits they take, more than likely impact at a track like Auto Club is your day over. It doesn't matter really just how hard a hit you take. More than likely, just because these suspensions, the rear wings, the tires, they're just all exposed, your day is probably over, even with the slightest bit of contact.
Yeah, but luckily for most of these drivers, most of them are gonna be taking tow, so it could put them a lap down. But all these drivers have one fast pair to work with, so they can reset their car one time. Then after that, they're just a sitting duck if they get hit one more time.
Yeah, to that point, I mean, we're only 12 laps into this race. They're having to go nearly 80 laps here on no more faster pairs. So they're going to have to kind of tiptoe for the remainder of this race until the closing stages.
Yeah, this is going to be extremely difficult for all these drivers, but the driver that loves to see this caution come out, that's got to be Eric Peterson, who was 2 laps down after having to come in pit road on the first lap after being involved in an incident, and now we get to see the 36 machine get 1 lap back, and we'll be with the drivers that are 1 lap down.
Wow, tough to tell. It's exactly what happened there off of turn 2. One driver kind of pushed up. The other driver, I think, turned it as low as possible to avoid going up and hitting the outside wall. The two of them make contact. Heavy impact for Jason Butler, and I believe the other car they made contact with was the 77 of Benjamin Combs. Max Davies in the 51, nowhere to go as well.
And drivers just got out of pit road, and it looks like there's a little bit of a shuffle. Nick DeGroot losing a ton of positions, went all the way down to 6th place. And it also looks like a driver did stay out. That's going to be the 6th machine.
So Jorge Anzaldo is going to inherit the top position. This might be some strategy. You do get bonus points for leading a lap here, so might be trying to get that bonus point now rather than later, and maybe we'll bring it down pit road on this next lap as we took another look there at the impact. A wheelie there for the 51 of Max Davies. A wild ride for him. And this is what brought out the first caution of the evening on what was officially lap 11.
Yeah, drivers just, I mean, that's the one thing about once we get longer into these green flag runs, tire wear could be something to worry about. Drifting up, coming down. And even if this track is so big, there's some drivers that are still looking for the same real estate, and contact is about to happen at some point, especially with how much of a hornet's nest it is going to be from 4th on back all race long.
Eric Peterson did get one of his laps back, so now he is -1. Drivers that are on pit road, Max Davies just now leaving pit lane. He is 2 laps down. Jason Butler looks like he is not going to utilize his faster pair, but he is spending so much time on pit road, he has lost 3 laps to the leaders currently. I don't remember if he was one of the drivers that also had to teleport to pit road with a tow or not.
Yeah, I believe Butler was one of those drivers that had to use a tow. Gary Corley is actually also going to have to come in. Looks like he missed his box the first time coming into pit road, and continuing to have issues on pit road, trying to get service done for the 7 machine.
Lights out atop the pace car. We're going to go back green flag racing at the start of lap 15. Jorge Anzaldo actually will stay out and lead them to green over Alexander Van Desant, Robert Maleska, Oscar Gonzalez, Charles Teed. That's the top 5. Nick DeGroot, as you mentioned, lost spots on pit road, restarts in 6th. David Leclerc 7th, Dylan Moskowitz, Matt Wagner, and Eric Schaus are going to complete the top 10. Single file restart. As soon as the pace car peels off, race leader Anzaldo is able to go whenever he wants, and we'll see if he does a little mind games here with Desant, Maleska, and Gonzalez behind him.
Yeah, right now could stack up the field or take off immediately and try to get that lead. I think either way, this 6 machine's stuck in kind of a precarious situation, a sitting duck once we get onto the backstretch, but immediately taking off as green flag back in the air as we start of lap number 15.
Yeah, one thing we haven't talked about yet is tires, with drivers being off sequence with each other. 15 laps now on Anzaldo's tires, fresh tires for the drivers behind him. At what point, how many laps do you think it really makes that much of an impact of your tires versus fresh rubber?
I mean, I think right now the tires haven't been the biggest issue on iRacing. The tire compounds, iRacing's trying to figure out a way to make it where the tires really fall off for the iRacing, I mean, for the IndyCar drivers. And we haven't really seen that here recently. A car is going to be extremely slow. That's going to be Michael Spell, who's completely sideways in the middle of the track.
Oncoming traffic all moves to the outside line, avoiding that Stars and Stripes number 88. So a close call there, as that was around mid-pack when Michael Spell spun out. But avoidance there, only a single car spin for our second caution of the night.
Yeah, Spell was running around the 21st position and was trying to make a bold move, trying to make some passes, and just wasn't clear enough. Getting clipped by, I believe, the 23 machine.
I mean, at these type of racetracks, obviously, these cars, I kind of call it floating. You watch them, and it's almost as if they're not driving it at all. It's almost as if the car is driving them. And down that back straightaway, we've already seen it early on in the first run, a lot of the slicing and dicing, and sometimes it's difficult to know if you're clearing another driver.
Yeah, actually was going to be Nolson, and who's going to be that driver in the 13 machine in 21st position that right now Spell was trying to get by, just not able to.
Almost looks like maybe Spell was, trying to make a move, and the car behind him was making a move on him. And again, I mean, these drivers, they have the rear view mirrors, but you've got that kind of area covering the rear tires. That would be a little bit of a blind spot. Plus, you have that rear wing. And obviously, you know, in other particular car types as well, that rear wing can be a bit of a visibility problem for drivers, especially at a track like this where you're moving down a back straightaway at almost 250 miles an hour.
Yeah, you got to make those quick reactions. If you hesitate in any moment when your spotter says you are clear and you decide to wait just a little bit, the car behind you, they're carrying a lot more momentum. And if you don't utilize your speed at the right time, we're going to see exactly what we just saw, where drivers, once again, looking for the same real estate contact made in another caution out on the track.
Well, that caution helped Jorge Anzaldo to be able to hold off Desant and Maleska, so he will lead a couple more laps here under pacing. Like a couple of drivers did lose some positions under that run, though. Nick DeGroot dropped from 6th back to 7th, and Eric Schaus dropped from 10th back to 12th. So not beneficiaries there of that run, as we're going to be waiting to see if the 6 comes down pit road, which I don't think he's going to. Looks like he's still continuing the decision to stay out there on those somewhat older tires. We'll obviously have to wait and see the end result of that, but you know, it's the first race of the season. You've got 17 more races if this one doesn't go right to be able to try and combat a poor performance. I like this strategy on the 6 machine. Go outside the box of everybody else, because you never know, depending on how cautions might fall, or if they don't fall in terms of how far the fuel strategy is for these drivers, it may be a race-winning strategy even as early as the first 20 laps.
Yeah, everyone else is still going to have to pit 2 times if we stay green, even with these cautions. And the 6 machine was already, that was the strategy call from the start. So it's not a bad move at all to be staying out here. If everyone is, I think if everyone else was in a 1-stop while the 6 was in a 2-stop scenario, then we'd be seeing a little bit of confusion there. But everyone's still in the same real strategy, so it's not a bad call. Get the track position, stay up front. I mean, the 6 machine started back in 34th position, now leading this race, and it's a great opportunity to be up front, leading the first race of the season, getting some laps led, and also trying to hold off the rest of the field with the older tires.
Eric Peterson liked seeing that first caution come out because he was the free pass machine, but after that first caution, the 77 of Benjamin Combs actually fell a lap down, and with this second yellow, he was the recipient of the free pass. So he'll be back on the lead lap. Peterson still trapped 1 lap down. Jason Butler and Max Davies right now trapped 2 laps down apiece, but all 36 drivers that took the green to start this race, all still out on the track and running.
Yeah, and right now, Peterson going to be the only driver 1 lap down, so if a caution does come out, and Peterson is not involved in it, will, in that 36 machine, will get that lucky dog position to get the wave around to get the lap back. So luckily, the only driver 1 lap down at this moment, but I mean, these drivers, yes, we've seen a quick 2 cautions, but easily we can go on an extremely long green flag run to the end. It's extremely possible as green flag back in the air as we're starting lap number 19.
Looked like Anzaldo kind of waited until the last possible moment to get up through the gears that time, changing it up a little bit from the previous restart. But he only has maybe 4 car lengths back this side-by-side between Maleska, and Van de Sant.
Yeah, Maleska is going to be coming with a head of steam, but early yellow once again.
And that is, I believe, the 15 of Covey Moore.
Oh, and Moore collected another driver that ran into him.
Bud C. Steele. Bud Steele was running up inside of the top 10, so this had to have been something that started at least up close to the front of the field.
Oh, man. And
Another
Butler
car.
involved in this one. Butler was trying to get by. Oh,
Jeffrey
no.
Duncan on the apron there in the 32. I don't know if he got a piece of this or not. Actually, it looks like he might have been on pit road just coming off of pit lane.
It's so weird. I'm watching how Butler was involved in this incident, and it just looked like Moore, instead of holding the brake and letting everyone go by, decides to drift the car back, clipping the 101 and involving another car involved in this.
This looks like it was a battle between Covey Moore in the 15 and Pablo Diaz Francis in the 22 that goes wrong off of turn 2. And another thing with these high speeds, more often than not, we're going to see airborne cars, as you see right there. And I believe that actually might have been, I think that was the 72 of Eric Schaus that got a piece of that as well, as he kind of drove underneath of Covey Moore.
Yeah, just trying his best. I don't know if he drove under him or Moore just ran through him, which put Moore up into the air. Schaus gets into the outside wall, heavy damage for the 72, and this is when things are about to get very disastrous for drivers because a lot of these drivers are already in the back, had to use fast repairs already, and now they're going to be stuck with the vehicles that they have and going to have to manually repair their vehicles, which is going to put them more and more laps down.
And, you know, these cars are so sensitive, and so even the slightest contact right there for Eric Schaus, most people would look and say, well, he should be all right. He wouldn't have to use a fast repair, right? But no, I mean, that slightest bit of contact, even if we saw him make just a tiny bit of contact with one of the front wings, that's enough to aerodynamically have him 10, 15 miles per hour off the pace. So, you know, most of these drivers, even with the slightest amount of contact, are probably going to have to utilize that fast repair early.
Yeah, Schlaus is going to have to for sure because he is struggling just to go drive straight and has to completely turn the car to the right to even keep it going straight. So complete issues for the 72. Fast repair most likely needed as we wait and see what the drivers up front are going to do. Looking like the 6 going to be losing a lot of positions on that little bit of a green flag stop. I mean, green flag racing we had for a stint there.
Well, it's interesting because I think that both Anzaldo and Mauskowitz, the 6 and the 3, they actually both came down pit road.
They did.
And they came out of pit road still in the 9th and 10th positions, ahead of drivers that haven't been to pit road since 8 laps ago. So they actually were able to not lose nearly as many positions as I would have thought they would with coming down pit lane. 27 of Craig Forsyth is coming down this lap. So this will drop him quite a ways as he was up inside of the top 15, now about to drop outside of the top 20.
It's looking like Eric Peterson finally able to get the lucky dog position. 36 machine should be back on the lead lap after lap 1 fiascos that went on with the 36, which is now going to be leaving us with a total of 32 drivers left on the lead lap.
You saw him going around the outside, so we rack him up, do it again. The pole sitter, Robert Maleska III, he's going to lead them back to the green. Alexander Van de Sant in second, Oscar Gonzalez, Charles Teed, and David Leclerc now the top 5. Nick DeGroot, Matt Wagner, Pablo Francis, and then Jorge Anzaldo and Dylan Mauskowitz. They're going to be the top 10 when we go back green flag racing. That 101 of Jason Butler on pit road still. Extensive damage repair. He was already 2 laps down, going to lose even more laps here, having to get more repairs done to his machine. Currently in the 36th position. We have 32 drivers with Peterson on the lead lap of 35 that are currently running on the track.
We're about to find ourselves going green once again. As these drivers here at Auto Club, we're waiting to see if we can get ourselves a green flag run and have a green flag pit stops. But green flag back in the air for the start of lap 23.
And 100 laps at a 2-mile track seems like a long time, but when you consider the speeds that these drivers run, and you consider the fact we've run 3 cautions already, we're almost a quarter of the way through this race already. So, it's almost kind of the situation where you can't wait. You got to start making moves now rather than later.
Driver coming into the pits once again. Craig Forsyth has to come in right when we go green, so another driver that's most likely going to go a lap down here. As up front, drivers scattering everywhere as they're getting up to speed.
Tough break there for last year's Indy 500 winner, as he is going to lose at least 1, maybe 2 laps, depending on how long his stay in his stall is going to be. Up at the front, though, almost looking 3 wide was Oscar Gonzalez as he tried to get to the outside of Maleska, and now those two going to go side by side for second.
Yeah, right now, Gonzalez not really feeling like he needs to make the move just yet. Gonna try to get the momentum. But you gotta watch out for Nick DeGroot as well as Leclerc as they're coming with head of steam out of 4.
That was really interesting. Your top 3 all ran the upper groove through 3 and 4. DeGroot, Leclerc, Teed, and others all ran the inside line. So, a very interesting strategy there, with some drivers preferring the outer groove to some drivers trying to put it right down that white line. And Nick DeGroot, with the shorter way around the racetrack, he goes back to the point.
Could be thinking stay in line and go straight into fuel saving mode. If this thing goes green and you've been saving, there's a possibility with how many yellow flags we've had in pace laps, you could possibly have saved enough fuel to turn this race into a one-stopper from here on out.
How about David Leclerc now out in front? He was in the wall in the early stages of this race. Just barely brushed it, though, so didn't have to come down pit road for repairs, and now he shows the way. And they're almost 3 wide back there around the 5th position.
Yeah, that's going to be Leclerc. That's going to be Wagner. Here comes T to the inside. But Nick DeGroot back to the racing point, making the pass on the 50 machine.
This is when things get a little bit dicey coming off of the corner. These drivers have to make sure they are aware of where they are in relation to the other drivers. Plus, they have to hope that it's vice versa, that the other drivers know where they are in relation to them. So, tight quarter racing here for these drivers up inside of the top 10. We've actually had a bit of a breakaway also. I think there's only 8 drivers up in this lead pack. You got to go about another second from Pablo Francis back to 9th place, which is the second group being led by Jorge Anzaldo.
Yeah, and Anzaldo actually has finally been able to catch up and with the lead pack group, as it's going to be 9th place, part of this group. And then you got to go back to Maskowitz in that 3 machine. That's all the way back in 10th place in no man's land. No one helping this 3 and no one catching up to the 3 just yet. So really up front, it's just a duking battle, as it's going to be Matt Wagner in that blue machine on the inside trying to make the moves to put himself up front.
Taking a look there on the inside of Nick DeGroot, but DeGroot was able to hold him off, and now we'll go back to the point himself on Alexander Van de Sant, who got awfully wide there. Another car back there. I think that might have been Maleska. He got awfully close to that outside wall off of 4.
There's so much space, but sometimes you kind of can get a lapse of judgment, drift a little bit too far, letting your car turn the corners by itself sometimes. You got to be careful not to turn the corner just a little bit more. And once you're on the high side, you got to be careful not to drift up any more than you have to.
This is reminding me so much of a super speedway race, just in the fact nobody seems to be able to hold the lead. We've not only had lead changes at the line, but we have about 2 or 3 lead changes in the course of a lap, as now Matt Wagner to the point. Here comes DeGroot with a big run. He's going to try and take the lead once again going into turn 1.
Yeah, and they're just going to continue to duke it back and forth. The driver, though, that I'm watching, it's got to be Pablo Francis. Francis in that 22 machine on the inside has been slowly marching forward, now up to 5th place, and could be making a charge for the lead here probably in the next 2 laps.
Take a look here on board with that 22, as this was 230 miles per hour going into turn 3. Going to hit somewhere around 240 in the draft before they get over here to turn 1. And You can just see the hands in here. Now, it looks like they're very steady, but at the same time, as I said, it's kind of a unique sensation when you're driving one of these Indy cars because not often does the car do exactly what you want it to.
Yeah, you got to be careful, especially on these corners. There's certain certain spots in the corners that there are some bumps and divots that could cause your car to be rattled a little bit. So you got to be knowing the course as well as you can to make sure to try to avoid those bumps at all costs.
Boy, former winner from last season, Alexander Van de Sant. He finished 4th in the standings, had a great performance in the season finale at Indianapolis, which jumped him from 7th up to 4th. And, oh, wow, now he's down on the apron. Is there a problem for the 317?
No, I think he was just trying to carry as much speed, but might have just grazed the apron, had to back out of it to try to save that 317, able to get back into the throttle. Now Matt Wagner battling for up front.
I'll tell you what, though, that 317 of DeSant keeps making me nervous because when he runs that outside line off of turn 4, there's been 3 different occasions where I thought he was going to brush it, and he just barely is able to turn his car back to the left to avoid making that contact. You talked about the 22. Here comes Pablo Francis making a move for 2nd. Might have thoughts for the lead down here into 3.
And you got to be careful as really all the drivers up here. Gonzalez was thinking about ducking it low to possibly try to force this thing 3 wide for 2nd place. But all these drivers, if you can just catch your draft and the toe at the right time, you can really put yourself all the way back from 10th place, 9th place, which is the furthest back of this front group, up to the lead in about 2 to 3 laps. If you can really hit your marks every single time. But here comes Pablo Francis trying the inside to make the pass for the lead.
And you got to wonder, too, if this would come into play, but the 22 of Pablo Francis and the 11 right there of Oscar Gonzalez, they are teammates out of, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Niki Racing. You know, obviously, a lot of the fundamentals of what we're seeing are very similar to Super Speedway Racing, so those two could work together draft-wise to keep themselves up at the front.
Yeah, and if you can get 2 cars in line that are teammates, you obviously can try to work the draft, work the pressure of the cars that are around you, try to pinch them to the inside, force them to back out through the corners, and there's a lot of different mind games that can be played here, especially at a 2-mile course like Auto Club. There's a lot of space that you can try to make some moves, to defensive and offensive moves that you can make here, but we are losing, as that's going to be a car going a lap down, as it looks like some drivers coming into the pits. AJ Musselman just came in.
I think that was an unscheduled stop, and even if it wasn't, we saw he overshot his pit, had to back it up, so that's going to lose him valuable time. Musselman, a driver that finished 8th in the championship standings last year.
Also, other drivers that had to come into the pits. It looks like Max Davey had made some mistakes. We're seeing a lot of drivers coming into the pits now. As we continue
The 9 of Bud Steele might have also been on pit road a lap ago.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye out to see which drivers are coming in and see who's going to be making the big moves, but it's going to be Matt Wagner still up front. Caution, though!
Caution's out, and I believe the 77 of Benjamin Combs off of turn 4, out of harm's way on the apron, but his spin going to bring out the caution for the 4th time tonight.
Oh my goodness. It looks like Combs might have just looped it himself. Luckily did not hit the wall. But the 77 machine bringing out a caution. Self-spin out of turn 2.
And I have to wonder...
Actually, out of 4, excuse me.
Was this a possible attempt to try and get to pit road? No, he's running too high there.
Yeah.
3 and 4 for that. Wow. And that thing just snapped around on him. Now, you know, I mentioned about that this track, about 5 grooves wide in the corners. The dark gray area that you see separating those lanes, those are seams, and I almost wonder if maybe those might be a little slick. Maybe that's why that 77 snapped around the way it did.
Well, also the fact that once the tires get more and more worn, the lower you're running, the more you got to be concerned about overturning, and it looks like that might have been it for the 77, but a little bit too much wheel into it, and the back end just snaps on him on the exit of the corner.
On board with the 77, you saw he felt the back end coming around, tried turning the car, the front wheels back to the right to counter steer it, but that car was going to go around one way or another. And fortunately, though, off of turn 4, down onto that apron area where there was no oncoming traffic, so fortunately just a solo loop for the 77 machine, and that's going to be a big break for the 54 of AJ Musselman, who, remember, made that pit stop. Well, he was scored the first car 1 lap down when that caution came out, so he will be the free pass machine.
Yeah, and we'll now see with all the drivers now coming into the pits. This is putting everyone in the window. I don't think that they can make it here to the end with when they're pitting right now. So they're still going to have one more pit stop to do after this one being made right now.
I don't think that any driver on the lead lap stayed out there. All 28 drivers just hit pit road. Correction, 29 drivers hit pit lane. And I think this is going to undoubtedly be just a 4-tire stop for everyone. I don't even think anybody would try going with a fuel-only strategy, as Matt Wagner easily wins the battle off pit road. And that time, Nick DeGroot's team was on it. He gained a couple of spots.
Yeah, Nick DeGroot went with a different approach on exit of pit road. Usually all the other drivers, they have to swing out of their pit box and get into the pit lane. Nick DeGroot, with his team being so close, he was actually able to just drive right up straight and not have to worry about losing any time getting his car straightened out.
Folks, if you're just joining us, this is Flat Out Racing Network's coverage of the Season 3 season debut of the Dark Horse IndyCar Series at Auto Club Speedway. Currently, Matt Wagner leads the way as we're about to complete the 39th lap of this evening's event. Just to update you as well on drivers that have called it an early night. Max Davies is out of the race. He'll finish in 35th, and Jason Butler will finish in 36th. So right now, with Musselman getting the free pass, 30 drivers will be on the lead lap, 34 drivers still in the running of this race.
Yeah, and this is still a long race as these drivers are getting set up here. I mean, we're not even at halfway. We've already had a few cautions come out here, and I know a lot of these drivers excited for this new season. 18 racetracks they get to go ahead, and we talked about at the top of the broadcast how you're looking for a good start at the beginning of the season, and for a lot of these drivers, looking at how they've started. I mean, Max Davies, I got to say that 51 machine, kind of one of the drivers that was put on the pedestal of someone looking for a top 10 finish this season in points, and this is not the way that you want to start this season off.
A couple of drivers you saw there that are utilizing the wave around. Bud Steele and Covey Moore. They're going to go around and get one of their laps back. So we will have 4 drivers, Craig Forsyth, Jeffrey Duncan, Bud Steele, and Covey Moore, all 1 lap down, vying for the free pass should we get another caution when we go back green.
Nick DeGroot trying to find himself another championship, running second. Matt Wagner had to battle his way up to the front. Qualified in 11th place, and this 99 machine really has been trying to work his way through traffic, and once he's gone up here in the top 3, has not looked back.
And Matt Wagner, one of several drivers in the field tonight that did not take part in last season's Auto Club race. But some drivers that did, where are they currently running? Well, AJ Hobson, the defending winner of this race, is back in 14th. Charles Teed, who finished 3rd here a year ago, right now he is really the highest running of the drivers that were inside of the top 5 last season. He's currently in 6th place. Nicholas Wunk is currently riding back in the brief moment, and they just lost him. He's in 12th, and AJ Musselman just got the free pass. Going to restart back in 29th. Those were 4 drivers that finished in the top 5 here 1 year ago, as we're back underway with 60 laps to go.
Matt Wagner going to be leading this charge. Do want to give an update on one of the drivers that qualified in the top 10, but had a rough start at the beginning. That's going to be Charles Johnson. That 21 machine is the 14 machine, all the way back in 21st position. Actually dropped all the way down to 33rd at the first lap of the race with Eric Peterson's issue. That driver trying to march his way back up into the top 10.
All right, so you talked about when these drivers came to pit road that more than likely they cannot make it to the conclusion of this race and what they've got in the tank, but everybody on the lead lap is all on the same sequence now. They're all on the same strategy. So more than likely, I would assume that in these final 60 laps, we're going to start to see the changing of strategies once again.
Yeah, I mean, some drivers are going to be thinking about just splitting this stint if we stay green in half. So pitting around lap 30, around lap 71 would probably be the marker for some of them. Probably 71 to about lap 76 is the window that we're going to be seeing a lot of these drivers thinking about coming into pit road if we stay green to the end.
Up to right now have pulled away. They've got almost a 1.2 second gap between themselves and this side-by-side battle for 3rd, which now is going to be Oscar Gonzalez to the inside, Charles Teed to the outside, and Alexander Van Desant making it a 3-way fight, but there's about 3, 4, 5 other drivers right behind them.
Yeah, we're going to be the 91, 22, as well as the 50, all following suit, and there's still a string of cars trying to follow them, and The issue is Van de Sant's now going to be leading this group in third place, but the leaders in front, our front two, have a 1.2 second gap lead over third place, and the rest of the group's following. But this is a hornet's nest from fourth on back. This is probably the scariest spot that we could be finding an incident very quickly in.
Yeah, and that top two, they're actually starting to pull away. They had about a 1.4 second gap. It was closed down to 1.2, and this group came off of turn 4 as DeSant. Oh, he got close to that outside wall, and Oscar Gonzalez had to make a choice there, whether to maybe follow up into the wall or cross him over to the inside.
Yeah, seeing the teammates of Francis as well as Gonzalez trying to work out with one another as, they are close up here. We got a new fighting driver up here, the 21 machine. We haven't seen him up front, but he's now in 7th place.
About that, Brandon Passalacqua, who we saw be quite a key player in the Indy 500 last season, and now he makes his first emergence inside of the top 10, almost already into the top 5. One more spot to do it, and that's the 5 of Charles Teed.
Also, Jorge in that 6 machine now on the same stint as the drivers he's around. Now with the fresh tires, can start making some bold moves, now moving up to 10.
We know he's got a strong race car, even with older tires, and man, was that, I think, Leclerc again, almost getting to the wall off of turn 4. Some of these guys are right on the razor's edge coming off of that corner, and I'm surprised that they continue to consistently run that line that almost puts them in jeopardy. I would have thought that if they're getting that close to the outside wall, they'd change up their line a little bit, but no, they seem committed to it.
Well, I mean, we saw there of seeing Combs spinning out on the lower line, so there is a risk of running lower, and I think that's the fact that field drivers are going with the, hey, let's stay comfortable instead of being aggressive. Teed and others flipping there.
Charles Teed up and into the air. Another car upside down going through the grass. I believe that's the 11 of Oscar Gonzalez.
Yeah. And you saw this coming. I mean, we talked about how they were running the higher line and everyone was starting to drift up there and just not enough room for neither of those drivers.
Both cars were upside down. Gonzalez was able to flip back onto all 4 wheels, but actually, I believe, gone past his pit stall, so had to call a tow to be able to get back to pit road, as obviously his car was badly wounded. Charles Teed having to teleport back to pit road as well. We'll take a look at this one, and this is one of those occasions on the straightaway where you just see a car get hooked to the outside wall and you know the end result's not going to be good.
I think Teed might have hit a bump that just launched his car up into Gonzalez, because the way that car just reacted, it didn't stay going straight, and that is such an odd accident that happened. I think just the aero factor might have brought both those vehicles together.
You know what's incredible, too, is the fact that happened right up inside. I think it was a battle for the 5th position at the time. The fact that both of those race cars slid down the banking into the infield, because if they had stayed back up on the racing surface, that would have been more than likely a huge multi-car accident with oncoming traffic.
Yeah, luckily they wrecked in the self-cleaning area of the track where cars are going to slide down. But man, extremely hard licks there for Gonzalez and Teed, who both had to use a tow, so they're both most likely going to go a lap down, and there are multiple drivers already 1 lap down, so this 5 as well as the 11 who were battling for a win are now going to be in such a hole to try to dig themselves out of.
Speaking of drivers a lap down, I believe Craig Forsyth, our defending Indy 500 winner, is going to be the recipient of the free pass under this one, and add a couple more drivers to the list of those that will not have a faster pair to fall back on here in the second half of this race.
Yeah, I mean, this is a difficult moment for a lot of these drivers now as we're inching into the halfway marker of this race, and for most of these drivers, they're hoping that about 20 laps to go. That's probably the marker that they want to start using their faster pairs, not before the halfway marker. And now you've got about, I would say, 10 to maybe 12 drivers that have already used their faster pairs and are in pretty difficult situations. And also, we find ourselves with about 2 drivers, 1 lap down. Covey Moore, as well as Bud Steele, that are going to be 1 lap down, and a lot of other drivers going to be 2 or more, as Charles Teed has officially DNF'd from this race, leaving the server. There might have been an issue of him hitting his faster pair.
And he finished 3rd here a year ago. Tough break there for Charles Teed, as looks like he will be finishing out the evening in the 34th position. New race leader, as the 3 of Dylan Mauskowitz was actually able to win the battle off of pit road, so he'll be the one to lead us back to green, which will be in the second half of this race. You're watching the first race of the season, Season 3 of the Dark Horse IndyCar Series here on the Flat Out Racing Network. We're going to be back here for the restart momentarily, but we're going to step aside for a quick commercial break. You won't miss a thing. We're going FRN side by side.
ETE Reman is the world's best remanufacturer of transmissions for import and domestic cars and trucks. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our customers are repair shops, auto parts stores, dealerships, and distributors. And with 6 nationwide warehouses, we're where and when you need us. So when you're looking for a transmission that is like new, only better, instill confidence and install ETE Reman.
We're based out of West Monroe, Louisiana. We do custom t-shirts, racing. We'll do any shirt. We'll do schools, churches, fundraisers. We do a ton of event shirts, as you can see on our board here, all around our banner. Personalized, I mean, we do anything. It doesn't matter to us. We got the custom rugs. We use all the, top quality shirts, inks and everything.
Green flag set to come out here with 50 laps to go. We've now entered into the second half of this race at Auto Club. Dylan Mauskowitz leads us back to green over Matt Wagner, Nick DeGroot, Alexander Van de Sant, and Pablo Francis. And as we go back green here, a little bit of a story there on the 3, Sam, that you brought up during our commercial break.
Yeah, it looks like Dylan might have gone into his pit box. Might have been an error that happened as the 3 actually did not take any tires or fuel, it looks like. So he's going to be up front on the older tires and older fuel. So this 3 machine, we'll see how strong he can be, but he's now going to have to pit earlier than everyone else if we have a long green flag run, because everyone still needs to pit one more time.
There you see him trying to break the draft as he goes way down to the bottom of the back straightaway, but Matt Wagner and Nick DeGroot, they're lined up nose to tail, got a huge toe down the back stretch, and now they're thinking maybe of splitting that 3 car 3 wide coming off the final corner.
Wagner wasn't able to get the momentum just yet, but now he's going to be using the toe. DeGroot is there, going to be trying to make the pass on the inside, and will do so. And looking like Wagner's going to be following suit. As the drivers behind them, we've got ourselves some new lookers. Victor Santos in the 24 machine. Haven't seen him in the top 10, but there he is now.
Nick DeGroot made 10 of the 11 races last season en route to his championship. The one race he didn't participate in was here at Auto Club, so you can bet he'd love to have a win here at this 2-mile, some people call it Super Speedway, as it's still a 3-way battle for the lead. Here comes Mauskowitz to the inside. It's also a 4-way battle for 4th place going on behind this top trio.
Yeah, and it's just continuing to look crazy for 3rd place position as you got Francis trying to hold on for that position. And then you've got others, and they finally have caught up to our front 3, and here they come with a head of steam, about 8 cars all in line.
A lot of momentum for Pablo Francis, Brandon Passalacqua, Victor Santos in the 24, first time we've mentioned him tonight.
Yeah, Santos, he's someone that's kind of in a waiting game. He's surrounded by all the drivers that have been in our top 10 all race long. So we'll see what this 24 has as he ducks it low, trying to make the pass here on Wagner.
Couple of drivers, it may be too early to say, but I would call it comebacks. We saw the 77 of Benjamin Combs spin it out of turn 4. He's been able to rebound up to 15th. And how about the car of Eric Peterson, who fell 2 laps down early on? He was actually up in 15th. He lost a couple of spots there through, I think that was turns 1 and 2, dropping back to the 17th spot, but still on the lead lap and still in the hunt.
Wagner going way too high, absolutely bogging down the high line and losing a lot of positions as that 99 machine is now back to 9th place.
Pablo Francis now will go to the inside of Nick DeGroot for the top position. Passalacqua trying to get the run to the inside of the 1 machine. Not quite able to do it as he aggressively tucks in line behind DeGroot.
I mean, looking at some of these drivers have been making their big moves forward. I mean, Francis started in 18th up to 2nd. And then you also look at Pasqua. He started back in 14th up to 3rd. And then you also look at the driver that's running in 6th place. Chafe's got to started back in 20th, now up to 8th, now battling for 5th.
trying to figure out where moves can be made in the closing stages of this race in terms of the race win. And it's almost looking like the first two grooves, those are the areas where you can make passes. I think if you go up to that third groove, it's just too long a ways around the racetrack to be able to get a run and make a pass, because we saw Pasliqua try to do it through 3 and 4 the last lap, and he lost a little bit of ground.
Moskowitz going to be trying to stay low, but might have gone too low too late, bogging down that 3 machine. They're now 3 wide for third place.
That is Eric Schaus up the middle. Ooh, this is going to be tight going into turn 1. Close quarter racing between the 72 and the 3. They keep it 3 wide, and that brings a whole host of cars right behind them.
Yeah, if you're staying 2 by 2, you can really carry the momentum, but when you're 3 wide, you're just bogging down where you're at, and you're carrying so much more speed than everyone else. Or front 2, trying to pull away as the drivers behind them still duking it out.
Boy, that was a heart in my throat moment there with them 3 wide nearly for a full lap, but Eric Schaus is going to get the 3rd position. Pasliqua moves up to 4th. Now he jumps to the outside of the 72. Moskowitz now under fire from Victor Santos to his inside. David Leclerc, Maleska, Matt Wagner, all still in this hunt, but they're so close together, you kind of get the feeling if someone makes just a slight error, it's going to have catastrophic results again.
Maleska came up and almost completely dumped Wagner and himself. These are probably the round 7th on back. These are the drivers that have been lingering around the high side, and if they continue to race like they've been doing, they might be the ones that bring out our next caution.
And Victor Santos went from top to bottom from turn 4 to the start-finish line. He'll complete the pass for 5th place on Dylan Moskowitz, trying to now reel in 4th place Pasliqua. But as all this is going on, to your point, those top 2, they are pulling away. The gap right now just a little under 7/10 of a second, as now De Groot trying to jump to the outside of Francis for the race lead.
Well, what De Groot's trying to do is stay high, get the momentum, slingshot his way past Francis, and just try to utilize the draft, helping each other pull away from the drivers behind him. This is the same strategy that we were seeing ourselves with De Groot and Wagner on that last green flag run before the caution came out. So a lot of these drivers trying to make some bold moves, but it's going to be Eric Peterson having to come into the pits, and this looks like this could have been a non-scheduled stop.
Well, I actually was not able to get a good enough camera angle. Maybe you can, but it looks like the front wing is gone on that 36. He might have had an issue that didn't bring out a caution.
Yeah, Eric Peterson did have to come into pit road this time, but still trying to get repairs done. And it looks like might have been an issue, but caution coming out. It's going to be Gardner coming in.
Josh Garner in the 12 car on the front straightaway, and there's some smoke further up as well. Somebody else got involved. I think it's the 13 of Kristen Nelson.
Yeah, oh boy. That is whoa, my goodness. It was the 12 that initiated, and it just looks like his car broke coming out of 4. Overcorrection. It felt like a sensation of looseness, possibly for the 12. Completely overcorrected and threw it into the outside wall.
Looks eerily similar to the line that Benjamin Combs ran earlier when his car went around on him.
Yeah, it's just... Oh, it just looks like turning just a little bit too much. That's such a violent hit. Nelson, nowhere to go with that one. As we continue to look at that, I'm going to go back and try to find what exactly happened to this 36 machine.
I want to get a look here at that one driver. I'm trying to figure out who it was that made an impressive maneuver of being able to get around the spinning machine of Garner, and I think it was the 7 car. We're going to go on board with Gary Corley. I believe he is the one, and just watch how close this is. He more than likely should have been involved in this wreck, and he wasn't. This is one of those too close for comfort moments.
Yeah, oh my goodness. I was able to go back and find exactly what happened to Eric Peterson. It was coming to lap 60 on lap 59. It looks like same spot that we just saw our accident happen, but this time it was Peterson who got loose, spun out, and came down into the apron, smashed into the inside wall.
We got the time, so we'll look at that replay as well. Here it was. A little bit higher, though, in the corner for Peterson. Wow, oh my goodness, the wall literally just kind of grabbed the front end of his race car. That was some heavy impact for the 36.
Yeah, and had to use another tow for the 36, still in pit road, trying to get repairs done as the rest of the field coming into pit road, and everyone comes in. And the timing of this pit stop, this is right on the window of you can make it to the end if we stay green. So a lot of these drivers, if they feel like they're going to be about a lap short, they got to start saving early so that they have enough fuel to pressure and be as strong as they can be at the end.
And unfortunately, we cut back to live just a tick too late. There was some 3 wide racing to the commitment line there off of pit road. Eric Schaus, I thought he edged DeGroot, but actually it might have been vice versa. DeGroot edging Schaus, and then it was 3 wide with Pablo Francis, Victor Santos, and Robert Maleska for that 3rd position.
Yeah, and we also find ourselves with a couple of drivers in front trying to get their laps back. That is going to be drivers trying to get their way around, and that's going to be Charles T. as well as AJ Musselman trying to do their best to get another position back, as well as Oscar Gonzalez trying to get their laps back and trying to be at least 1 lap down for Gonzalez and then 2 laps down for Teed, and then Musselman 6 laps down at the moment.
Of course, for Gonzalez and Teed, they were involved in the last caution number 5, subsequently why they lost the laps that they did. AJ Musselman, on the other hand, I know that he had that unscheduled pit stop on pit road. I don't know how many laps he spent, if he lost all 6 laps on that unscheduled stop or if something else happened that we aren't aware of. But yeah, multiple laps down for that 54 machine.
Yeah, Musselman had to come in multiple times. His 54 machine's been having a lot of issues for most of this race. Just not the opener you're hoping to have here for season 3 for a lot of these drivers. But, up front, looking at some of these drivers that are up front, these are kind of the favorites we were expecting to have good runs of Nick DeGroot, Wagner, and also Alexander Van de Sant. Been up in the top 10, exactly what they need to be doing here for the first race of the season.
Want to put out a little apology. I did miss another of the top 5 finishers here from a year ago. Last year's runner-up finisher, Jim Brooks. He's in the field tonight, right now running in the 13th position, and he finished up the year last year in the championship standings 3rd as well. So, we haven't mentioned him tonight, but kind of seems like one of those guys we can't really sleep on. He could be up here in the closing stages.
And that's exactly what Jim Brooks did for the finale of season 2 at Indy. Wasn't really a factor for most, probably about 3/4 of the race, and at the end just snuck his way into the top 3. So Jim Brooks, obviously someone to watch out for as we're getting ready to go green.
And ready to go back racing. DeGroot's the leader, Eric Schaus in second, Pablo Francis, Victor Santos, and pole sitter Robert Maleska. That's the top 5, followed by Wagner, Moskowitz, Passalacqua, Leclerc, and Descent. Green flag back in the air, less than 40 to go at Auto Club.
Yeah, and these drivers are inside the window to make it to the end on fuel. So everyone here now in the mindset of how do I set myself to stay up front and get this track position.
Did not mention that the lucky dog position under that last caution went to the 15 of Covey Moore, so now 29 drivers on the lead lap is Eric Schaus. First time tonight, he's going to go to the point.
Yeah, Schaus, someone that has had an eventful day, was caught up, I believe, in that first initial incident, had to get repairs done, and this 72 machine has been able to work his way all day long. Started back in 20th position, now to the racing point, but Nick DeGroot in that 1 machine trying to get back to first place.
First time tonight, the top 10 has been broken by the 63 of A.J. Hobson, the defending winner of this race. He just got around Alexander Descent for that position, so now it seems to be go time for him. Won this race 1 year ago, but led 40 laps. He's yet to go out in front here tonight.
Francis able to make the pass here on Nick DeGroot, and then you also got to look back at Santos in the 24 machine. Going to be trying to make some bold moves as our top 4, top 5 all together, and then you got to drop back about a second, almost a second and a half is when you find David Leclerc in 6th place.
Yeah, huge gap from the top 5 back to 6th position, and now as we start to close into nearly 30 laps to go, a lot of these drivers up here have not utilized their faster pair yet. There are some in the field that already have. So at what point does the aggressive level kick up for some of these guys up at the front?
I think it's now. You don't have to worry about a green flag pit stop. It's get up front and battle as hard as you can. And if you make a mistake, just rebound, use a faster pair, and understand you're going to have to make that charge once again up to the front.
And the only thing that I would kind of be a little bit concerned about, though, is I would normally think that at a track like this, you can work your way from the back to the front, utilizing the draft very quickly. But we've seen on a lot of these restarts just how spread out the field is. Case in point, you just mentioned it. There's nearly a second and a half from 5th back to 6th. So let's say you get involved in a wreck with 10 to go, you restart back outside the top 20. There's no guarantee with how spread out the field might be that you'd have enough time to get back up to the front.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you got to make the moves now to get up front as fast as possible, because if there is an accident that happens and you're involved, you at least still have time to come back, because you know the aggression level is going to kick up as Leclerc gets extremely out of shape for that 50 machine, but able to stay on track as now going to be back in 9th place.
Now going to lose a couple of spots. Pass Lacroix gets by for 7th. Wagner by for 8th. Drop Leclerc back to the tail end of this group in the 9th position. Another driver that seems to really be falling off right now is that 317 of Alexander Van de Sant, because he was up inside, I think it was the 6th position on the restart. He's now just trying to hold on to the 10th spot.
Yeah, and it's that factor that you were talking about of how much these drivers are getting spaced out from one another and the struggles on these restarts to get up to speed. And if you lose too much time, you will lose your pace on trying to hold up with the drivers around you. As back to the front, it's going to be Pablo Diaz Francis up to the point for the 22 machine as Nick DeGroot cutting its way down into 2nd place.
You saw there for a brief moment the orange and blue machine. That was Jim Brooks in the 76, and right behind him you had that orange and yellow machine. That's Jeff Hysong in the 18, a driver who's been up inside the top 15 this entire race, just not up high enough to the front for us to really have the camera focused on him.
Yeah, I mean, Hysong has just been consistent, trying to just run a good time and not really trying to put this 18 in any type of difficult or precarious scenario, and just running high, letting everyone else make their moves up front. But Hysong now in a very difficult spot. The Hornet's Nest, I would call that is where we are seeing 10th on back. All these drivers on top of one another.
More than likely, I think we could assume if we're going to see another caution, this might be the area where it will take place, as they were nearly 3 wide there. That was Joe McAdory in the 4 machine that made it 3 wide with Hysong, and I think that was Jim Brooks as well. And another car just up ahead of them got way out of shape. That might have been the 27 of Craig Forsyth, who's marching his way back up into the top 10.
Yeah, and really right now leading these group is going to be more drivers side by side in 3 wide. That's going to be the 21, 99, and also the 50. They've been side by side 3 wide, and now that's bringing in all the drivers behind them. As Van de Sant is caught up to this group, they're 3 wide once again. And man, Leclerc seems to be struggling in this 50 machine, just being passed by everyone, ducking it to the inside. That's going to be McAdory getting absolutely out of shape and shunted to the inside apron.
Well, he's able to save it, fortunately. Yeah, we saw that just on the back end of our camera shot, how he went from the wall almost to the apron. Great save by McAdory, but drops outside of the top 20 because of it.
Yeah, and now McAdory right on the tail end and still losing time of all the drivers in the top 20, and that is a huge loss for a driver that was looking for a top 15 run.
Riding on board here with Craig Forsyth. We'll take a look out the back end of the race car as well. That is AJ Hobson down to the inside. Tried to get a run on David Leclerc. Could not do it. Things, at least in this mid portion of the pack now, have settled down just the least little bit. Now a couple of side-by-side battles in what was nearly 2 rows of 3 wide a couple of laps ago.
Dylan Mauskowitz and the 3 machine into pit road, and I believe the 3 might have made a mistake of coming in. And a mistake of coming into pit road, not getting. Oh no, he spun out of 4, into pit lane, not bringing out a yellow.
No caution as it's a 3-way battle at the front, and all of a sudden, oh no, another spinner! That's Pablo Francis. We were just on him as he was battling for the lead. Caution's gonna fly.
Yeah, that's the same spot. We've been seeing the big issue out of 4, the loose sensation in that second groove, and even our front runners, they're struggling with it as well.
Oh man, tough break there for Francis. He's trying to get that car turned back around, but because the chassis on these machines are flat, he kind of gets stuck from the transition of the flat apron to the banking on the front stretch. He finally does get the thing righted and turned back around. We'll go back and see what happened, and we kind of saw it live, but we'll get a more in-depth look. And does this potentially, Sam, take that inside line out of commission for these drivers late in the race to make a move for the race win, just based on what we've seen, drivers by themselves spinning on that inside line?
No, you've got to risk it. If you're trying to get the win, you've got to risk how slick it is down there. And even after the spin, all the drivers came on the radio just saying, man, I was about to lose it there. As we were seeing, I mean, we saw ourselves with the 3 spinning out a lap before. We saw Francis go, and I also heard over the radio of Wagner getting loose, Leclerc getting loose. So a lot of drivers with that loose sensation, it's going to continue on coming to the end of this race as everyone pulls it into pit road.
We've got the opportunity. We'll take a look here at Moskowitz incident off of turn 4 as well that did not bring out a yellow, and a reason for that is because the car was not completely fully around until after he was down below the white line separating the apron from the racetrack. And man, that was actually a heck of a save too. I don't think he made contact with the inside wall and was able to traverse down pit road into his pit stall.
Yeah, get some fresh tires, able to stay on the lead lap as well. So somehow, luckily, when that caution came out, Moskowitz was able to stay on the lead lap and will be the last car on the lead lap in 30th position.
It's like the free pass position is going to go to Bud Steele. So we'll have 30 cars on the lead lap when we go back green as Nick DeGroot wins the battle off of pit road over Robert Maleska. Eric Schaus, Victor Santos, and Matt Wagner going to be getting ready to go back green with less than 25 laps to go. And one thing that we haven't talked much about here, and main reason was because I kind of thought these drivers wouldn't risk it early on, but I think now we're definitely going to see it up at the front, and that's blocking.
Yeah, blocking is certainly something we have not seen yet, but you know it's going to happen. I know we've been seeing a lot of drivers snaking it down the backstretch, trying to break the draft and the stream by weaving down to the inside and up to the high side. And blocking is going to be such a risk, especially due to the fact of how fast these drivers are going, and the closing rate is so incredibly quick that there's a chance you could cause a late block if you are not prepared to be instant on your movement.
Well, it's going to be a very challenging start to the season for these drivers. 4 different venues, 4 different track configurations. We're at the 2 Mile Super Speedway tonight at Auto Club. Next week, they go to the short track of Iowa. Then it's the 1.5 mile in Atlanta, and then the road course of Road America. So for any driver that likes any type of those particular configurated tracks, you got to think they've got those particular races circled in the first 4 races of the season.
Yeah, and this is going to be a good starting point for our first 4 races to really get a point of view of who's good at the 2 miles, the 1.5 mile, short track, and road course, who is the overall best driver at all 4 courses. And I think by the end of all 4 races, we'll get a good sense of who our top runners are in the championship, who needs to really make their charges, who's been fast at all those tracks but having bad days, and who's just staying consistent during all those 4.
And it doesn't matter how long the season is, there's always the emphasis on consistency when it comes to the way that the IndyCar points work. But I think even more so this season, because last year, when Nick DeGroot won the championship, it was an 11-race schedule. This season, 18 races on the schedule. So a longer season and more opportunities to make mistakes. Championship could be on the line if you make a mistake at the wrong time.
Yeah, we've got a lot of new faces that have come into this series for season 3, and Nick DeGroot, one of the most dominant drivers from last season after really locking up the championship before the final race. So a lot of these drivers trying to knock a peg on this one machine, but Nick DeGroot, he's got to be the one that everyone's trying to chase, but he's been up front. No one's been able to touch him just yet. As we are coming to ourselves, 22 laps to go. Green flag back in the air for Nick DeGroot.
It's us back.
Yellow
immediately. That's Jacoby Moore in the 15.
And others flipping behind him. That's going to be T is involved.
Josh Garner, Dylan Moskowitz. There's a whole parking lot on the front straightaway there. I believe that was the 13 of Krista Nelson. The 86 of Todd Schneider is in trouble as well.
Oh,
just a couple hundred feet. They didn't even. I don't think some of these guys even got to the start-finish line before they started wrecking.
No, they didn't, and that was going to be Gardner, who was kind of caught in a stack-up, had to back off, and the drivers behind him did not get that warning. And a lot of drivers are completely upset on the fact that some drivers just aren't holding the brake, which is such a kind of a rookie move to not. Once you're involved in a wreck, you got to hold the brake, allow the other drivers to try to evade you. And if you'd let your car just drift up, like we saw from the 12 machine, if you look at this replay, it costed so many drivers their cars that already use fast repairs.
Bud Steele and Charles Teed, also some of the drivers that were involved in this one, along with the 32 of Jeffrey Duncan. There you saw the stack up aftermath. We actually have to jump up a little bit further ahead to see the initial contact of what stacked everybody else up. And I believe it actually starts up here with, as you mentioned, the 12 of Josh Garner. So we'll jump up to his race car and see what happened on the restart from his point of view.
And Todd Schneider gonna be done in the 86 machine. Was not able to really document his race. Extremely frustrated after hitting Gardner, after Gardner not holding the brake and costing this 86 a day. Gonna be right now was running in 28th position. Most likely gonna lose a lot more due to DNFing from this one.
Right on board with a 77 of Benjamin Combs. I think he got a slight piece of this as he went down to try and avoid the 12 of Josh Garner, but everybody up there against the wall, and everybody down low to the ground as well with that rear wing of the car in front of them. So if trouble breaks out ahead, it's kind of hard to know where the drivers are spinning or not spinning.
Yeah, and that's something with communication that you kind of have to just throw out there. Be like, hey, we're wrecking up front, slow down. And for some, they're going to get that call from their spotters. Others, they're hoping other drivers will communicate that. And a lack of communication, taking out a lot of drivers. Also seeing a lot of machines coming into the pits, trying to get service done for themselves. But up front, still Nick DeGroot holding strong.
I believe, gonna have to double check on this, but I think Oscar Gonzalez, who was out front in the early portions of this race, battling for the race lead before he and the 5 of Charles Teed got together. He, I believe, is the recipient of the free pass under this caution. We'll have 28 drivers on the lead lap when we go back green. But this green flag is going to set us up now for a restart with less than 20 laps to go. And let's not forget, we had an exciting finish in the Indianapolis 500 one season ago, but that race also did end under caution. So these drivers have to kind of keep in the back of their minds as well. They may not necessarily be racing to the white flag. They might be racing maybe to 3 to go, where probably with the emergence of a yellow flag, the race would end under yellow.
Yeah, and especially with how consistent we've been seeing these yellows coming out, I would imagine this race is most likely going to finish under a yellow. So you got to be making sure that you are up front and in the lead with at least 3 laps to go, because we are not going to have any overtimes. This race is most likely going to finish under yellow, and I think that would put us around lap 96 to 97 as the marker where if we have a caution there, there's no turning back.
Lights out atop the pace car. Why don't we do a quick full field rundown of the drivers that are on the lead lap with a shot of winning this thing? It's Nick DeGroot showing the way, Robert Maleska in second, Eric Schaus, Victor Santos, and Matt Wagner are your top 5. Alexander Van de Sant's been able to wrestle his way back up into the top 10. He's now 6th. Jorge Elizondo is in 7th. Dave Leclerc, AJ Hobson, the winner of this race 1 year ago, and Brandon Passalaqua, that is your top 10. Jeff Hysong, the highest he's run tonight, in 11th. Craig Forsyth back on the lead lap in 12th. Jim Brooks in 13th. Gail Brooks, we haven't mentioned the 71 car this evening. He's 14th. And Charles Johnson started on the outside of the front row. He'll be 15th on this restart. Gary Corley in 16th. Corey Lane 17th. Michael Spell in 18th. Nicholas Wunk in 19th. And Jim Herrick will complete the top 20. Joe McAdory, after that tremendous save on the last run, he's 21st. Pablo Francis in 22nd. Dylan Moskowitz in 23rd, Jeffrey Duncan 24th, Benjamin Combs 25th, and the rest of the drivers on the lead lap will be Covey Moore and Krista Nelson. Sam, 19 laps to go here for these drivers at Auto Club.
Yeah, we can add another driver into the DNF circle. That's going to be Josh Gardner, who is officially DNF'd it, but Nick DeGroot going to be getting the charge here as everyone's getting ready to go. Like you said, 19 laps to go. Nick DeGroot getting the green as everyone gets underway and gets under fire. Waiting to see who's going to be making that charge here at the end as everyone trying to get a good restart. And that was actually probably the best restart we've seen from the whole entire field as a whole.
Yeah, there were a couple of gaps here and there, but everybody did a good job of not running up each other's gearboxes as the battle looks like it might be for second sooner than it is for the race lead. Eric Schaus with a big run on Maleska down the back straightaway. He'll dive to the bottom, and that run might actually give him the race lead. He's going to shoot to the middle on DeGroot.
And to the high side, now going to be deking it low. Here comes the 72. But Nick, we talked about blocking. Nick DeGroot going to be blocking just a little bit, trying to slow down that 72 machine, the momentum, but not able to. To the bottom side, here they come, passing the 1.
You saw DeGroot went all the way down to the white line. With these Indy cars, the apron is not a viable option for them, not only just for the fact that it's out of bounds, but for the fact that there's a transition of banking. They really don't want to run the risk of damaging that front wing. Schaus is going to edge ahead there into 3.
Schaus able to possibly come up, but now you got to watch out. Here comes Santos in the 24 machine, who's going to have the momentum now, really carrying some of that speed, deking it high, going to be going low, trying to deke out the drivers in front of him, able to do so as they're 3 wide for the lead.
How about Maleska? He's going to try that outside line, see if it will work, but it's the longer way around the track. He'll drop back to 3rd, now have to contest that with Wagner. Now jumps back up to the top side again. 3 wide once more, DeGroot in the middle, Schaus on the bottom, and Maleska on the top.
3 wide for first place, 3 wide for 4th place, as they're all scattering now in what was looking like maybe a 3-horse race for the lead. You now have a total of 10, 12 drivers all packed in and ready to make a charge for up front.
Group jumps back up to the top side of Schaus. Now up again to the 3rd group goes Maleska. Behind them, you got Matt Wagner trying to figure out where
Yellow
to
in the back.
And it's going to be Covey Moore, I believe, in the 15 on pit road.
Oh, man. Everyone was just scattering there. There were 3 wide. He knew the momentum was coming, but it was Moore. Same issue we've been seeing out of 4. This time, Moore not able to avoid the barriers of the inside wall. Absolutely clobbering the inside wall and pushing himself back out onto the track.
Covey Moore had just gotten the lucky dog not too long ago and now finds himself flipping through the grass, as we'll see here on this replay. A wild barrel roll for the 15 machine. I believe it was because he came back up in this area here towards the racetrack that the caution came out. I'm not necessarily certain if he had actually had it down near pit road, if the yellow flag would have come out on that occasion, because again, it didn't look like the car absolutely snapped around until he was underneath that racing surface white line.
And it's the same spot we've been seeing. It's that second lane exiting out of 4 that the drivers have been slick and having the biggest issues. You either got to be on that first lane where it's going to be even slicker, or move up to the 3rd groove when you're exiting out. Otherwise, you're going to have that extreme loose sensation, and you're practically going to have to be dirt track drifting if you're going to survive exiting 4.
I thought that Oscar Gonzalez got the lucky dog under the last caution. That was not the case. He might have actually been involved in that stack up, which would have taken him out of the running for the lucky dog position. This time, though, he will be the free pass car, so there will be 27 cars on the lead lap when we go back green. And I was thinking before that it's too early to ask this question, but I'll ask it now since we've got the opportunity under pacing.
Oh, no contact! Woo!
Little cat and mouse there.
Frustration from some of the drivers because the leader stopped, so no one else was able to really pass them, and that's really not even a legal move to completely stop. You got to continuously move, and contact damage for some of these drivers. Wagner involved with that one, and whoo, that is not good.
That was not the race leader at the time, Eric Schaus. You're right, came to a stop, and the problem with that was the commitment line is way down there. There is that entrance to pit road, but the commitment line's another 50 feet down from the pit road entrance area there, that access road, so that just caused a lot of confusion. It looks like we're going to have 10 drivers that elected to stay out here under this caution, but to your point, there's going to be some drivers not really all that thrilled that the 72 came to a dead stop, because that just threw mass confusion all the way through the rest of the field.
Yeah, I'm trying to take a look here at the 99 who did make contact with the 91 while they were trying to shuffle and figure out where they want to place themselves. So that is frustrating for some of these drivers that are up front, because now they're thinking, hey, where do I need to put myself with this damage? Can I even run up front with the slight amount of aero damage because of how aerodynamic this track is?
As we kind of try and figure out the aftermath of what we just saw, I'll go back to the question I was going to pose to you. We've seen this entire race. It's been very difficult for one driver to hold the race lead with so many options open to these drivers, the ability to be able to get runs with the draft. If we're coming, let's say, to that final lap, what position do you want to be running in? Do you want to be the race leader, or do you want to be the one that's trying to make that pass?
I would most likely want to be the driver trying to make the pass if I knew that we were going to have an overtime and this thing was going to finish under yellow. Otherwise, I want to stay up front as much as I can. Don't want to give an opportunity for anyone to pass me. And I'm expecting here for these final couple of laps here, probably with about 5 to go, our leader is not going to be leaving that inside at all. They're going to be staying low, making everyone make the pass on the high side, just like what we usually see at our mile and a half courses. We're also going to be seeing a lot more blocking involved, and this is going to be a lot trickier for some of these drivers that haven't been up front. Craig Forsyth, haven't seen him up front that much. Gary Corley, haven't seen him up front either. And so this is going to be very interesting for drivers that have been in the middle of the pack or even further down with their opportunity to be racing for a win.
Yeah, Jim Herrick's up in 8th, Joe McAdory up in 10th. First time both of those drivers have made an appearance inside the top 10, along with that 7 of Gary Corley, as you mentioned. Now, drivers that came to pit road, Eric Schaus pitted from the lead, and Robert Maleska pitted from 3rd. They will restart in 11th and 12th, and they are going to be restarting back there with 11-lap fresher tires than the drivers ahead of them. So we're going to have to see if that plays a factor here in the closing stages of this race.
Also got to wait and see how well this restart's going to go, because if we have a really split up restart, it could cost all the drivers that just pitted for tires. They could not even have the draft or a chance to catch up to the leaders.
27 drivers still on the lead lap of the 36 that started this race. And with 12 laps remaining, Nick DeGroot leads Matt Wagner, Jorge Elizondo, as well as Victor Santos and Craig Forsyth back to the green.
I'm looking at our front, too. The last time that we saw Nick DeGroot and Matt Wagner up front, 1 and 2, they pulled away from the rest of the field almost up to 2 seconds. It's possible they could do it again if they can find themselves in the same opportunity and situation. But how much damage does Wagner have from that contact with the 91?
We saw the field spread out on several occasions, but on this occasion, they are really spread out. Top 2 have broken away. Then you got a group of maybe 3 here with Santos and Zaldo and Forsyth. Then you got a group of 2 with Corley and Francis. Things really broke up on that restart.
Yeah, Francis is going to be trying his best, but you got the 72 who's coming with a head of steam, and all the other drivers that just pitted. They're coming, but they're about 2.5 seconds back from our leaders. They've got to bounce from pod to pod from each draft pack that there is and hope that they can catch up to our leaders quick enough. But they are coming to 10 laps to go, and it looks like it's going to take some time to really catch up to our leaders.
Of course, with 10 laps to go, still a lot of opportunity for another caution to come out and more race cars to get torn up here. As you see some other drivers in this second group, you've got Dylan Moskowitz, who kind of rolled the strategy, but not necessarily by choice. They end up missing his pit stall on one occasion, end up going to the point. You got Alexander Van de Sant, Robert Maleska. They've been up here inside the top 10 all night long, as they're almost 3 wide coming off of turn 2.
This second pack being led right now by Santos. They're close. They're not giving an inch, as it looks like Forsyth really pushing the issue, trying to pinch the drivers on the outside. Now going to be leading up to 3rd place. Only issue, he's a full second back from our front 2 that continue to pull away.
And we're going to start to see drivers, as you said, not giving an inch. There's going to be a lot more room not given with these drivers, and they've got those exposed wheels, so you got to make sure that if you're not going to give room, there's still got to be a little bit of daylight between you and that other race car.
That no longer coming back zone. That's going to be lap 96 for these drivers. If we get to lap 96, we will no longer, if a yellow comes out, we'll be ending this thing under yellow.
Looking here at 3rd place battle, that is Jorge Enzaldo, the pole sitter for this race. And beside him is Craig Forsyth, now trying to take that 3rd position away. And these guys continue to battle 1.1 seconds behind the 2 race leaders. And it's going to come to a point where these guys are going to have to settle the differences and realize, hey, this is a great battle we got going on, but it's not for the race lead. We got to get up there to those top 2.
Yeah, the issue, though, is that drivers are running so low, trying to gain as much time as they can. Once we get lower into this thing, is Corley off the wall. That 7 machine. That's heavy damage that he's going to have, but luckily pancake the wall. Shouldn't hurt him too much, but he is losing way too much momentum and going to be losing a lot of ground.
I'm not sure if it's a thing with these Indy cars, but he was all up the back of the 24 of Victor Santos. And I'm almost wondering, being that close, if he got so aero-tight, he just couldn't turn it off of 4.
Yeah, that possibly could be it. I mean, there's so many drivers around you. The air is moving so much that it's going to pull you, get you loose in some areas, tighten you in others. You got to be careful on where you're placing your car. But looking at the drivers that have the freshest of tires, they're now up to 5th as well up to 9th.
3 wide for 3rd. Schaus to the top. In the middle, that was Jorge Elizondo. And Craig Forsyth on the bottom goes to the point. Another car up in the wall potentially there. I think that was the 91 of Maleska.
Yeah, Maleska had to really try to evade Francis there. That just got extremely tight. And these drivers, they got to be careful as we're now getting closer and closer. I believe one more lap. No! Caution out.
That's Garrett Corley. I think that brings out the caution, but there was another driver that shot down to the inside of the racetrack. Another driver in trouble, Brandon Passalacqua for 4. I'm trying to pinpoint who that other driver was that I saw that really turned hard off of turn 4 and looked like he was headed down for the inside wall.
That was Passalacqua.
The caution is going to fly the 10th time tonight, and I think we are going to get back green flag racing here for the conclusion.
Yeah, we were just about to get to the zone where we were going to finish this thing out under yellow, but I think we might be able to get green with possibly 2 laps or even a 1-lap shootout here.
Here's what happened with Corey, and oh wow, Corley, same loose sensation, but that time it was more towards the entrance of turn 3 rather than out of turn 4, which we're used to seeing.
Yeah, that was the biggest issue right there. And looking at the drivers, looking like no one else is going to be getting the wave around to possibly be back on the lead lap. We're stuck with 26. If we have another quick caution, the race will end there, which is going to leave us 26 drivers. Nelson going to be the last driver on the lead lap. We have a few drivers in the back half of the field going for tires here, but track position seems to be the most important thing at this moment.
Speaking of track position, we're watching here the spin by Brandon Passalacqua, and Passalacqua, at the time the caution came out, was in the 12th position. It looks like he is actually being allowed to get that spot back, despite spinning down to the apron of turn 4.
Yeah, I think it's due to the fact that Brandon was not the initial cause for the caution, so that's why the 21 is able to get back into that position. And now after spinning, trying to cool off those tires with how much he was sliding, trying to cool it off during these pace laps before we get ourselves green once again. But oh boy, this is Wagner and DeGroot. They're going to have to try to pull away as quick as possible because that 72 machine is looking quick with those fresh tires.
Able to pinpoint the driver that shot off to the right side of the screen just after that caution came out. It was the 6 of Jorge Anzaldo who had a heck of a save here. Watch as he's battling with Eric Schaus for the 3rd position, and right there the loose sensation kicks in. And I don't know how he was able to turn that car back to the right. We've seen so many times a driver gets loose, they're going to nose it into that inside wall. Somehow he was able to straighten that car back out.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta throw your hands up in the air and be like, I don't know, that's just straight talent to be able to save those machines. And a great save by that driver as we're waiting to see when the pace car lights are going to go off and how many laps are going to be left. I believe we might go green with 2 to go.
We'll wait and see if they do go out this time. It will be 2 laps remaining in this event, and the pace car lights are... They're off. So it will be a 2-lap shootout. Now, let's remind everybody that they have to at least make it back to the white flag for them to race to the checkers. If we end up having a caution come out before they come around on this 2-to-go restart and receive that white flag, race will end under caution. So, in all technicality, it could be a 1-lap shootout if you're someone back here like DeGroot, Schaus, or Endalzo.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I think Matt Wagner's got to be thinking, I just got to get a lead and get it as big as possible here and hope that DeGroot can't pass me until the front straightaway and then try to make the passing and counterattack on the backstretch of the white flag. Otherwise, it's stay up front until you see a yellow flag because I don't see us going green to the end.
I have to wait and see here as Matt Wagner and Nick DeGroot, they were kind of mano-y-mano on that last run. Had broken away from the rest of the field. We'll see what the restart here is going to bring. Will it again be a 1v1, or will Schaus, Anzaldo, Maleska, Forsyth, Desant, will they be able to keep up in the draft and still be in the running for this? A lot of this is really just going to depend on Matt Wagner's start here, how he's able to get through the gears, how much of a gap he gives, and how much he's going to be willing to throw blocks on the drivers behind him.
Waiting to see. 2 laps to go. Who's going to be getting the first win of Season 3 here for the Dark Horse IndyCar Series? Matt Wagner bringing us to the green. 2 laps to go. The 99 car trying to get the win here for the debut.
On him right down there to the bottom, trying to break any draft that DeGroot and company could get behind him. Takes a slightly lower lane into the corner, and DeGroot and Schaus, they've got themselves lined up. They may have a heck of a run down the back straightaway here. Behind them, and Zaldo and Maleska trying to catch up as well. Schaus jumps to the outside of DeGroot. He jumps to the outside of Wagner.
DeGroot trying to pull with the outside. He's got the momentum, but here comes Strauss. That 72 machine's going to have to duck it low here, possibly go into the apron on the straightaway.
Coming to the line, they will receive the white flag. DeGroot by a wing there at the start-finish line. We have 1 lap to go. All bets are off.
Yeah, now it's going to be figuring out who can get the momentum out of the corner. Right now, Nick DeGroot in probably the worst scenario. He's stuck on the high side. He needs the momentum. Here he comes, cutting it high, cutting it low. Who's going to be trying to get below? Matt Wagner, he has to stay low. He's going to have the momentum as they're going to be 3 wide out of turn number 4.
Schaus takes the third groove. DeGroot in the second groove. Wagner on the bottom. DeGroot tries to cut the inside. Can't do it. They're wrecking back there for 4th as Wagner is going to win the season opener.
Nick DeGroot, he wrecked off the inside wall. He's not going to be able to even get a top 10 finish. He's still dropping down on the straightaway.
Other drivers that were involved there in that battle for the 3rd position included, I believe, it was the 6 of Jorge and Zaldo, and I think the other driver might have possibly been the 27 of Forsyth, I think. They wrecked coming to the start-finish line, but I think they crossed it.
Yeah, they did.
Matt Wagner with some premature burnouts there as the whole rear wing is now gone. Spinning it out there in turn 3. Boy, we got a lot to cover here. We're going to wait for this 99 to come around and see if he does his burnouts, but it's going to be a lot of replays here during this post-race wind down. A lot of action coming out of turn 4 to the start-finish line. You just saw there, though, it was kind of the last-ditch effort for Nick DeGroot. He knew he was going to have to try and get the run off of turn 4, cut it down to the inside, and it was hard to tell if he just cut it down too soon or if it was that loose sensation we've seen all night long.
It was a loose sensation. Same exact spot we've been seeing all race long. Hitting the same spot on the inside wall and a horrific spin on the inside, and that one machine, what was looking like a chance for a top 3 finish, now going to be finishing back in 25th place for Nick DeGroot.
Matt Wagner not run all the races last year, but the races he did run, he was a contender. He made 5 starts, 2 pole positions, and went to victory lane that year. That victory taking place at Donington Park Racing Circuit. And now burning it down here with the first win of Season 3 in the Dark Horse IndyCar Series as he'll do a Polish victory lap. We're going to go back and take a look at some of these incidents here that did not end the race under yellow because we had taken the white flag, but certainly played dividends into the finishing results.
Yeah, I mean, we had some of the drivers that were looking for solid finishes for themselves, going to be dropping back outside of the top 20. I mean, this is shocking to see. I mean, some of our favorites to win this thing, Nick DeGroot, 25th position. Francis is going to get 26th. Gonzalez, 27th, but was 1 lap down. Shocking to see. Passalacqua going to be getting 24th place. Wow, what an ending to this race. And it was just that loose sensation we've been seeing all race long kicking in for our leader that we saw that take out Francis earlier. And then that time it was going to be Nick DeGroot not able to save it.
You know, in the starts that DeGroot made last season, he had a 50% win rate, winning 5 of his 10 starts, but certainly not the way he wanted to start off this 3rd season. But from a spectator point of view, it's going to be a lot of fun to try and watch the defending champion try and come back from the poor start to this season and try and work his way back up to the top of the standings.
If anything for DeGroot, he can take away, hey, he was one of the fastest cars all day long and had a potential chance for a win. And you know that we, like I said, a 50% chance of winning last season, and he won the championship. That's just one race here this season. Nick DeGroot could easily win the rest from here on out, just based off the speed that this one has. And like you said, these first 4 races, they're so different. We'll now get to see what the rest of the field has moving forward.
And coming off of turn 4, the mentality for all these drivers is what I like to coin never lift. And you saw that, that contact there, or what was at the time 4th, then turned into 3rd after Nick DeGroot's issues between the 6 of Jorge and Zaldo, and the car that went up in the air was actually Robert Maleska, our pole sitter. Well, he kept it in the throttle and managed to cross the line in the 3rd position. We're going to go on board with him here and see what he saw.
Yeah, you just kind of full send, hope for the best, and it certainly was something incredible.
There's the contact there, and then up into the air. see him still driving the race car, though. Even though the front tires were off the ground, still continued to drive that race car to the start-finish line. And so we're going to now show you your finishing results from this evening's event and start getting drivers situated for post-race interviews. And I think especially for our top three, there's going to be maybe a couple of question marks of what just happened there off of turn 4.
Yeah, I think for a lot of these drivers, it's going to be oh, goodness gracious, what happened here for a lot of them.
He started on the pole position. He's going to finish in 3rd place. We're going to see if we can get an interview with driver the number 91, Robert Maleska III. Hey, Robert, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flat Out Racing Network Studios. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Man, you first off started on the pole position for this race, so congratulations there. But you saw you kind of fall back midway portion of the race, and then you worked your way back up to the front in a position to possibly win this thing. But we did the onboard with you coming off of turn 4 and saw the hands on that wheel, and you never stopped driving that thing. You bring it home for a 3rd place finish. But from a driver's point of view, what was going through your mind with everything that was happening off the final corner?
Oh, man, I saw Nick just lose it off of 4, and then whoever I was right behind, I think Necho did, the guy in 2nd, and clipped me. And right when I got hit, I knew I just had to keep the wheel straight and just gas it through the grass and hope that I can get even a top 10 I would have taken.
Yeah, I mean, Robert, it was a solid race for you, and we saw a lot of cautions coming out, and we know it's short tracks. A lot of cautions can throw off someone's rhythm and their momentum. How was it for you here at the 2-mile course of Auto Club?
It wasn't bad. A lot of the runs, I just took my time, tried to save my tires, because especially that 2nd stint, a lot of guys were pushing really hard for some reason. And about 15 laps in, I was probably taking off 1 or 2 spots at a time. So just staying patient that whole race and got a good result.
You know, Robert, Sam alluded to the fact, with a new season, a lot of new faces coming into the series, you being one of them. What kind of goals did you have set for yourself here tonight? Did you meet those? And with the 3rd place run, what's your outlook here for the future races this season?
Yeah, I knew coming in, I'm always good at hot lapping, so I knew top 3 in qualifying was definitely the goal there. The plan was for the race just to fall back and learn how the car is during the long run, see how tire wear is. And that's how I'm going to take probably every race this season, is just be super patient, understand the car during these runs, and just try to be there at the end.
Well, consistent run here tonight, and you bring it home with a 3rd place run. Congratulations there, Robert. We're going to give you the opportunity here now for some thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs.
Thank you to my teammates Dylan and Jeff. They were kind of working me through the strategy there, and couldn't really have done it without them.
That's Robert Maleska. He brings it home. 3rd place here in the season opener at Auto Club Speedway. Congratulations. Let's see if we can now get our 2nd place finisher here, Eric Schaus. Hey, Eric, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flat Out Racing Network Studios. You got us?
Hey, Seth, how are you?
Well, man, it was certainly not difficult to find your car in the field here tonight, that bright neon tri-colored machine. But, man, you had it up there front at the end. We saw you try that 3rd lane in the final couple of corners to try and get the race lead. But, I mean, what little more could you have done to try and get Wagner at the line? Because it was kind of you and him off of turn 4.
Yeah, there really wasn't anything I could do there. I had newer tires by about 5 laps than those guys, so I knew I could stick that outside line. So that's what I did. I think even if I had gotten under DeGroot, it would have ended up bad because DeGroot ended up spinning trying to hold that middle line there. So, really all I could have done was stay on the outside and just hold it as hard as I could.
I mean, Eric, we saw that you were up front before you made your final pit stop of the day. Was there something that was just making you decide, hey, I need to come into the pits? Was it possibly that loose sensation out of 4 that was making you decide for that?
No, it actually didn't. The loose was fine with me. That didn't really bother me. It was more that when we were kind of playing, me and DeGroot were kind of playing some mind games there. He was looking like he was going to go in, so I was thinking about staying out, and we were going back and forth, and the final decision was me going in and him staying out. So I think we were just trying to do the opposite of what the other person did.
Eric, as we said, it wasn't difficult to be able to see your car on track, but when we were in the cockpit of other drivers during the race, you guys have those rear view mirrors, but it looked like a little bit of a visibility problem with drivers slicing and dicing down these straightaways. Was that the case?
It could be the case. Definitely when I was moving my way through some of the packs, you saw a lot of people going back and forth, kind of all over the place, trying to avoid, 3 or 4 people trying to fight for the same spot. So definitely could be a mess there. I just tried to get through it as quick as I could and stayed out of it.
Well, congratulations on getting through it all there, Eric. Second place run for you here tonight. We're now turning the microphone over here to let you do some shout-outs.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks to you guys for the broadcast. I'm looking forward to going back and watching it. Thanks to Dark Horse for putting on this league, and thanks to Lionheart, who I know has been helping out a bunch. And then thanks to my wife and father-in-law who were watching the race tonight. So I appreciate the support.
That's Eric Schaus, second place here tonight in the season opener at Auto Club. Congratulations and best of luck to you next week.
Thanks, guys.
And let's now go down to Victory Lane, see if we can get a word with the first winner of Season 3, Matt Wagner. Hey, Matt, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flat Out Racing Network Studios. You got us?
Yeah, I got you, brother.
Man, I mean, we know that these restarts here tonight have been absolutely crazy. That caution comes out, you're the race leader, and it's 2 laps to go. What's going through your mind at that point in time?
My thought process is hold the bottom and hope for the best and hope not go too early, which I did, and Nick was coming, and I was seeing him in my rearview mirror. If I just hold the bottom, hope and pray that I would cross the line first.
Matt, we also saw a little bit of controversy on the time that we saw some of the last drivers coming to pit road. You were actually slightly involved with those drivers. How was it trying to mentally reset after being involved in that pit road shenanigans?
I was really worried about damage. I was worried about my right front tire. And then I looked at my front wing. I had to stand up and actually look at it, and it looked fine. And I was hoping for the best, hopefully, and it was fine. I don't know what happened. I guess Eric Schaus or somebody stopped on pit road, and I got into the 91 there, and I was not really happy about that.
You know, Matt, you talked about your strategy there being holding the bottom. One thing that we saw consistently here tonight was drivers running that inside line and getting loose, especially off of turn 4. So did you have that in the back of your mind, or did you just not let yourself think about that?
I wasn't ready to think about that. I thought I had saved enough tire that me and Nick were having a good run and getting a lead over everybody, and I was lifting over time, trying to save the tires a little bit, and that saving the tires paid off at the end, me holding the bottom and get myself the win.
Well, Matt, we went over the statistics of your limited starts last season, how good they were, and you kick off this third season now with a trip to Victory Lane in the season opener at Auto Club. Congratulations. We're now going to give you the opportunity for some shout-outs.
Oh, some shout-outs. I'd like to thank all the admins here at Dark Horse Racing for putting this show on together. It's great. I got invited last season. It was great. I really enjoy my time here. Who do I like to thank? I like to thank my father. He's in Florida resting right now, and he's going through some time. So hope all thoughts and prayers for him, and hopefully he's listening. Love you, brother. We did it.
Indeed, he did. That is Matt Wagner. He is your winner here tonight at Auto Club Speedway, winning the season opener. He'll be your points leader heading into Iowa Speedway next week. Congratulations on the win here tonight, Matt. Go and enjoy it.
Oh, you bet.
100 laps in the books. The first race of the season is over. Sam, final thoughts after all the craziness we saw here tonight?
I mean, this is something that we're going to be seeing all season long. I'm expecting these finishes to be just as crazy. I mean, like we said at the top of the broadcast, we were honored to watch the finale of season 2 at Indy, and it just keeps on ramping up and up. You never know how these races are going to finish, but certainly throughout the rest of this season, you got drivers that are going to have to try to dig out of this hole from this first race. And we got Nick DeGroot, who's really going to have to get out of this. Musselman, another driver that didn't have the best day. And then you also got to be thinking about drivers that were taken out so early in this race, they never had a chance, like Max Davies, as well as Jason Butler. Those drivers that were taken out so early, they've got to figure out how to rebound going into next week.
Yeah. try to rebound going to next week, but we go from the wide and long Auto Club to the short track of Iowa. So that's going to be a tall task for some of these drivers. More than likely, I would assume more so than tonight. Next week, it's going to be all about track position.
Oh, for sure. Track position is going to be extremely important. And also with Iowa, there's going to be multiple groups for these drivers to work around. It's going to be about 3 to 2 wide racing at Iowa. And it's going to be fun to watch to see who can hold on and who's going to be making some of these bold moves to make these passes.
What an incredible 2-lap shootout here tonight to kick off the Season 3 of the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. And Matt Wagner, the one to take the checkered flag here this evening, heading into Iowa next week. Crazy race here tonight to kick off the season at Auto Club. Sam, appreciate you joining me in the booth for this one.
It's always a pleasure there, Seth.
The guys that tune in next week, as we will be at the Iowa Speedway for race number 2. Appreciate you joining us here tonight for the race under the lights here in California. For Samuel Dyer, I'm Seth Cole. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday evening as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flat Out Racing Network.